Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 154, a week one preview, and it is my great pleasure to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing today, Bernie?
I am excited. I am excited for fantasy football, but I am more excited for fourth and long.
Oh, everyone should be excited. We're getting back to it, getting back in the swing of things. So in this show, guys, we have a jam-packed episode for you. We will set the slate for this weekend's primetime games, check in on some player news and practice reports, check in on the activity of our waiver wire, go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. We'll also see who is on top of the newest and opening power rankings for the season here. We'll also give you our starts of the week. We will have another installment of a fourth and long with Bernie, and we grab our controllers and select our teams in this week's Wingman Jam. And also, we will dive into this week's mailbag. But before we get any further along, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman Assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's set the slate for this week's primetime games. As this is week number one, there are no NFL teams on buys, so all of our fantasy rosters are at full strength. In this, there is, what the heck did I write here? Sorry about that. Got tongue-tied. So, all right, let's start off with the opening game of the season. On Thursday night this week, we have the Dallas Cowboys galloping their way over to Philadelphia to take on the champs and division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, at 8:20 p.m. On Friday night, guys, we have a game on Friday. Don't let it sneak up on you. We have the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers having a powwow in Brazil at 8 p.m. The Sunday night game this week, this is a doozy. The Baltimore Ravens are soaring their way into upstate New York to take on the Buffalo Bills at 8:20 p.m. And the last game of the opening week here is the Monday night game where the Minnesota Vikings look to plunder division rival, the Chicago Bears, at 8:15 p.m. All right, which of these games is piquing your interest the most?
The most? I don't even know. They all are because it's week one. I'm so excited. Probably Minnesota, Chicago, but I think that I'm just going to say that Kansas City and the Chargers are piquing my interest the least because the other three games I am excited to see. I'm excited to see the return of the champs and a defense that took a big hit. I'm excited to see Baltimore because I have them as one of my Super Bowl teams in my predictions. And I'm excited to see Chicago and Caleb Williams and the DJ Moore connection because they are on my fantasy football team.
Okay. All right, starting off the season here on Thursday night in terms of our fantasy lineups, we had 9 players in our managers' lineups. Starting off with amazing Spidey has A.J. Brown going in his lineup. Waddle Way has his wide receiver duo of Cowboys, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb against Ben's brilliant team who is playing the Philadelphia defense. Crazy Fish has Dak Prescott in his lineup on Thursday night, while Red Sox Nation has the reverse jumping Saquon Barkley going. And the Fantastics has 3 players on opening night, starting with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and Brandon Aubrey in his lineup, hoping to get off to a fast start in week one. Which one of these combinations of fantasy players on teams are looking to get a fast start for their managers?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and zero in on the Fantastics and his team. I mean, as of this recording, and we are recording on Thursday, correct?
Yeah, it's fine.
Jalen Hurts already has 20 fantasy points. Devontae Smith is taking a back seat with the rest of the receiving core with 1 point. But Brandon Aubrey already has 11 4.4 points. And I know this because I am playing Fantastics, so I am already losing 33-0.
Ooh. What's your projection going on this game? You have a chance? You're already down by 15 points on a projection.
I am already down by 15 points. But I
Okay.
have a chance. There's always a chance. It's fantasy football. Devontae Smith could be a dud, and that would be great. Alvin Kamara could be a dud. He's got a couple of dud prospects going on there. But
Well,
this game,
yeah, I do
this
remember. I don't know how many years ago it was. About 7 years ago, maybe even longer. We're getting old, but it was the first or second year that Peyton Manning was in Denver, and he had, I think,
mhm.
7 touchdowns. He had like 48 points. Cubert's Rage had him, and he lost. He started off the game with a 49-point lead on Thursday night and lost that week. So there's still a lot of football to be played.
There is definitely a lot of football, but this game is exciting to watch Jalen Hurts do his thing and take his receiving core out of it, which thank goodness I don't have A.J. Brown this year.
Yeah. Well, okay, all right. Let's get into some player news and practice reports. All right, starting off with a little bit of a surprise here. Jadon Blue was a healthy scratch in week 1 for the Cowboys against the Eagles, meaning Miles Sanders was the second running back behind Javonte Williams. Also staying in that game, Devontae Smith was off the injury report, did make the start, as did A.J. Brown, who was off the injury report prior to game time, and he made his season debut as well. Devon Achane returned to practice in a limited capacity here and is looking optimistic that he'll be ready for Sunday's week 1's contest against the Colts, but we're not sure if he'll be on a snap count or not. What do you have on these guys? We got Jadon Blue, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, 2 players in, 1 player out, and Devon Achane's a little questionable, but looks like he's probably going to play.
Yeah, I'll circle Devon Achane on those 4. He is a must-play fantasy RB1 if he is active, and I believe he will be active. All indications are that he's going to be ready to go. My only concern is the amount of reps he was getting in practice, or amount of reps he's getting in the preseason games. All of those things are going to play a factor in that first game. But I think if he's clear, he's good to go, and I think he's a must start.
All right, moving on to our next group of players here. Staying in Miami, Tyreek Hill returned to a limited practice as well, and he says he'll be ready to go for the game against the Colts. This one popped up just moments before we started getting ourselves together here. Christian McCaffrey was added to the injury report late on Thursday with a calf injury. Once again, Christian McCaffrey, oh my, McCaffrey hurts. And then we have Travis Hunter, who's been dealing with that upper body injury or soreness the last couple of weeks, says he's back to full speed. He's actually listed as a starter in terms of the wide receiver, although we are not sure how many snaps he will get on the offense. We have Calvin Ridley, who's been dealing with general soreness, is listed as questionable, but is expected to be ready for the game against the Denver Broncos. And is that 4? That's 3. And then, that's 4 with Tyreek Hill. All right, what do you have on Tyreek Hill? Should be good to go. McCaffrey popping up on the injury report here late in the week. Travis Hunter looks like he's going to start maybe on both sides, and Calvin Ridley should be good to go, but against a tough matchup against Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, again, he's a must start if he's healthy and ready to go, especially early in the season while Tua is under center before he gets his bell rung. Christian McCaffrey, this might be one of those. Oh, I'm sorry. With Tyreek Hill, keep an eye on Tyreek Hill. He might get into that buy low option as far as trading goes as the season goes on. Christian McCaffrey, who's his backup? That's all you need to know. Did our manager that has Christian McCaffrey, did they get the handcuff properly?
No, the best play, the manager who's known for getting handcuffs that aren't his own is Crazy Fish. Picked up Brian Robinson, and he's ready to deploy that backup whenever need be.
Exactly. And then as far as Travis Hunter, it's a high ceiling offense. That's going to be the focus. So he can rack it up if he's healthy and good to go. I don't see him not starting. And Calvin Ridley, that's our favorite roller coaster, Mike. We both had him back-to-back years. So it's a tough week 1 matchup. So might play caution if you've got some other options with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I like Calvin Ridley this year, but I don't like him for the first 3 to 5 weeks. They got really tough matchups to start their year, so yeah. I would not pencil him into what his outlook is for the season based on these first couple of weeks. Gonna be a tough matchup against the Denver Broncos in that defense.
Yeah, and he's going to be facing Patrick Surtain more than likely. So.
All right, moving along here, we have Jaylen Warren. This reminds me a lot of Chuba Hubbard from last year, as the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted a relatively highly sought after rookie running back, but then they signed an extension to the incumbent guy who's kind of always been the backup and just is going to get a little more work here. So Jaylen Warren signed a contract extension, keeping him in Pittsburgh for 2 more years, and it looks like he is set to be the bell cow actually to start the season. Jawan Jennings restructured his contract, adding incentives that could get him up to $3 million more this year, but it does not add any years on to his contract, meaning he will be a free agent at the end of the season. He did return to practice, meaning he is looking more likely that he will be ready to play in week 1. Jerome Ford is expected to be the start off the season as the bell cow runner for Cleveland, while Dylan Sampson is expected to be the change of pace back for the Browns. All right, we got Jaylen Warren, who was kind of just a ho-hum backup kind of good player, is now getting an extension and might be the workhorse, with Jawan Jennings getting back in the field, and the Browns backfield looks like it might be shaping up with Jerome Ford being the leader of that backfield.
Yeah, so I say Jaylen Warren is a limited ceiling. He's got to worry about that the rookie Johnson, but you know, Jaylen Warren has got the reps with the team. He kind of knows what is going on. So he's okay, but I would be worried as the season goes on. Juwan Jennings, he's got an increased role with all the departures this season. So if he's good to go, then I would go ahead and plug him in right away. As far as the Cleveland Browns backfield, Jerome Ford, 2 years ago, he came out, throwing punches. Last year, same, but nothing that made me want to draft him high. So if you've got Jerome Ford and you don't have Dylan Sampson, just play a little caution. That backfield is probably not going to get as many reps as they're probably going to be passing because they're playing from behind. I think Dylan Sampson has more upside potential right now, but they do have a favorable week 1 matchup against Cincinnati. So go ahead and start Jerome Ford against Cincinnati.
All right, moving along here, one of your favorite players here, Marvin Mims, who did suffer a groin injury last week, I believe, returned to practice in a full practice on Thursday. Jaden Reed is listed as questionable heading into week 1 with that Jones fracture he's dealing with. He is preparing to play through the pain. This is going to be one of those things where he's going to get limited practices at best during the week, and you're going to have to just cross your fingers and hope that he suits up. He's probably going to play every week, deal with pain and soreness, and then not practice too much. Khalil Shakir returned to practice after missing some time with an ankle injury and looks like he'll be ready for week 1. And Darnell Mooney is considered day-to-day. He seems to be getting better, but it looks like he is going to be a game-time decision heading into Sunday. Keep an eye on that as we get closer to the weekend. All right, what do you have on these youngish receivers here? Marvin Mims, Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, and Darnell Mooney.
So Marvin Mims, I had him circled to get into late rounds of my draft, or of our draft, I should say, just because I wanted a piece of that offense. I wanted a piece of Denver. He is going to be the wide receiver 2 behind Cortland Sutton. So, I feel if the matchup is good, go ahead and plug him in as your wide receiver 2 and should be safe there. Jaden Reed, the Green Bay wide receiving core, I don't want anything to do with. I said this earlier in preseason. I just don't want anything to do with this offense. Hopefully he gets a good few games and then you can put him up for some trade bait, but I get rid of these guys. Khalil Shakir, a solid floor, limited ceiling. It's Buffalo. I don't really have anything nice to say. And Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney could be a go-to as far as getting the chains moving, but I would not put too much stock in more than a wide receiver 3-4.
I'm going to add 2 more players that aren't on our pre-list here. Speaking of Buffalo here, we have Keon Coleman, who's had a great offseason and training camp. He's banged up now a little bit, making his availability for week 1 up in the air. And Isaiah Likely is unlikely to be ready to go for week 1, meaning Mark Andrews might get a lion's share of targets from that middle of the field. What do you have on those 2 guys, Keon Coleman and Isaiah Likely? Both questionable, and I think Likely's not going to play. Coleman's more of a 50-50.
Yeah, likely is the one that I would be focused with here. And then if you drafted Mark Andrews in a tight end only league, uh, good for you. He's going to have a great game. If you've got him in our league, I would still be a little bit hesitant. Zay Flowers is going to get his reps pushed up a little bit. I think the security blanket aspect of it, we all remember what happened though at the end of last season, and that's the last taste that we have in our mouth with Mark Andrews. So, is he going to be dropping game-winning catches, or is he going to be, just an aged elite tight end? Jason Witten was an elite tight end, but he aged, and it's one of those things that happens. So, Zay Flowers is my go-to because he's just awesome.
All right. All right. Moving along here, we got Christian Kirk missed practice during the week here with a hamstring injury. It is looking pretty dicey that he's probably going to miss this week. Again, there's still a couple days to see how it's going to go. So Christian Kirk is dealing with a hamstring injury. Matthew Stafford is officially off of the injury report and is expected to make the start week 1 for the Rams. Najee Harris has been practicing in full and is expected to be active for Friday's contest against the Chiefs in Brazil. I've seen conflicting reports saying that he may be the starter, and I've also seen reports that Hampton will be the starter. So I'm not going to consider him being a bell cow here, but it looks like he's going to be active for that first game against the Chiefs. And Keyshawn Judkins, it's hard to say, may sign with the Browns at any moment, but they've been saying that for the last 10 days, as the sides are reported to be pretty close to getting under his rookie contract. Judkins, however, is still looking to potentially have a suspension coming when he does finally sign. So even if he does sign, he may not be ready to go for the Browns for a few weeks. But you have on these last 4 guys here: Christian Kirk, Matthew Stafford, Najee Harris, and Keyshawn Judkins.
So with Christian Kirk, I would be concerned. Maybe him being held out of practice Wednesday and Thursday is just something to just get him healed and ready to go. But I would be concerned. So uh, they invested some pretty high draft picks at the wide receiver position. So I would be hesitant to start Christian Kirk. Matthew Stafford, limited fantasy upside. If you've got to start Matthew Stafford, that means you're probably streaming quarterbacks. So you probably need to go look and make sure he's the best option for you before you start him. Najee Harris, one of those things, committee at best for him. But I would just have him as a handcuff more than anything and not a starter by any means, not even an RB2 or an RB3. And Judkins, if Judkins is in, then focus on Jerome Ford. Maybe before Judkins gets in, Jerome Ford could get you some value, and then you can put him up to trade.
Sorry, Elliott just hit a 58-yard kick. Am I playing against Elliott? I feel like I am. I need to check this stat if I even can. I shouldn't do this. It's taking too long. Okay. I'll find out later. All right. Getting on to our waiver wire, guys. We had 7 waiver bids to start out the week for 5 NFL players, where 2 of these players received multiple bids. I'm going. No. Okay. Whew. Okay. Sorry. That 58-yard kick is a huge number. All right. Starting off with Kyle Pitts, was the highest price acquisition post-draft at a $5 bid, making his way to Ben's brilliant team. I want to do the you paid too much, but there was a secondary bid for Kyle Pitts. It was a $0 bid, so he could have got him a little cheaper, but nonetheless, there were 2 people looking to get the services for Kyle Pitts, Kyle Stinky Pitts. The Miami defense went to Red Sox Nation for $1. And the LA Rams defense went to Crazy Fish for $0, who had a tying bid from Amazing Spidey with $0. But the waiver wire priority for the 2 players at the end of the draft, I didn't think I had to put $1 in because I had the 13th pick and was number 2 on the waiver priority. But the team with the number 1 priority got the LA Rams defense for $0. Amazing Spidey picked up Josh Carty for $0.
Our audio just went out and I cannot hear you.
Okay.
Okay,
I got
there we
you.
go. I can hear you now.
Yep. No, you're good. So Josh Carty went to Amazing Spidey for $0. And then Jake Elliott went to Cubert's Rage. There you go. Cubert's Rage got Jake Elliott for $0. Not sure if he's in the starting lineup or not, but if he is, that's a big time score to start out. What do you have on some of these guys that were picked up? The only offensive player was Kyle Pitts. The rest were our defenses and kickers, but there were multiple bids on Kyle Stinky Pitts.
Yeah, defensive and kickers. Yep, that's what we do before week one. I have still yet to do it, but Kyle Pitts, I'm okay with it. You know, it's early. $5 is a lot, I think, for Kyle Pitts, but it's early. Let's see what happens. Let's not make any drastic comments before the games have even been played yet. It's week one. Everything is good. Everything is good to go so far. Let's do this.
All right, guys. It is now time to see who's playing who in this week's matchups.
I want you! I want the stallion! Ready, down! Put!
This week's matchup.
All right, taking a look at this week's matchups. Our first game on the docket is Michael's Amazing Spidey versus Katie's King George. I know you don't have the order here. That's my fault. What can you tell us about this particular matchup between Amazing Spidey and King George?
Oh, geez, you put, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I didn't have my screen up and ready to go. Well, I could tell you that Amazing Spidey and King George is probably going to be a very close matchup with the projected points being only 3 points off. But Kyler Murray on King George's team is going to have a field day, I believe. I also think that you think that as well. So at the quarterback position, Drake May versus Kyler Murray, that might set the tone for the entire rest of this lineup here. AJ Brown is not putting up points because Jalen Hurts is taking points from AJ Brown, and he is on Amazing Spidey's team. So with Kyler Murray on the other team, AJ Brown on Spidey's team, I'm going to lean towards King George here having a slight advantage.
I agree with you. I agree. AJ Brown hasn't even been targeted. He's jogging. I don't know what he's reading books on the field this time instead of on the sideline. Very upsetting. All right, moving on to our next game here. I'll talk a little slow so you can get it going. Paul's Cubert Rage up against Always Right, Never Wrong. We shall see about this. What do you have on this particular matchup? And is Jake Elliott in his starting lineup?
Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Always Right, Never Wrong. Let's welcome him to the league. This is one of our new players. Is he number 13 or is he number 14? Who said yes first? But Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, Elliott did not make the cut. He is sitting on a bench with 8.8 points currently, projected to be 5 points over, or I'm sorry, 3 points over his projected points going into this game. But we got McCaffrey on this team. We got Jaden Daniels on this team. We have Isaiah Pacheco. We have Waddle on this team. There's lots of injury risk on this team right now with McCaffrey and with Waddle. So Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison, Tony Pollard's going to have a blow-up game. I Always Right, Never Wrong seems to be right so far with no games being played yet.
All right, our next matchup here is Nick's Waddle Away up against Ben's brilliant team who put the bid on Kyle Pitts here. What do you have on this particular matchup?
So Waddle Away has put lots of eggs in the Dallas offense, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But did he put too many eggs in there for game one? He's got George Pickens, and I don't like George Pickens. As a player, I just don't like his mannerisms on the field and his inconsistency. So hopefully Lamar Jackson can help out Waddle Away. But on the other side, Ben's brilliant team might negate Lamar Jackson with his Joe Burrow starting quarterback, Derrick Henry, Ladd McConkey, DK Metcalf. He's got a slew of people on his team that are not questionable, are not injured, are not in the news. So Ben's brilliant team might have the advantage just based on that.
All right, our next matchup here, we have Andrew's Crazy Fish, and I meant to mention this before. We have a team name change. Corey's team is no longer Mac Daddy Twos. He's now May Daddy Twos for Drake May. What do you have on this matchup between Crazy Fish and May Daddy Twos?
Well, let me count how many New England starters are on May Daddy 2's team. 0. He's got 0 starters starting. So change the name. Just change the name altogether. You know what? Just change teams. You don't really like them anyway. Brock Purdy starting. That's good. But Dak Prescott's on the other side, and Dak should be having a good game, but he's not. He's only got 5.38 points. So I would have said Crazy Fish has got this quarterback duel going, but with this Thursday night game already going, I don't know. The rest of the team, though, what do I see here? I see Jackson Smith and Jigba and Calvin Ridley on the same team with Jamar Chase. That is a good wide receiver core. I think it's a little bit better than the Drake London, Brian Thomas Jr., and Ricky Pearsall there on the other side. And you're going against Pearsall's quarterback. So I might lean to May Daddy twos, but Crazy Fish is crazy, and sometimes he just got these guys that go in, man. He's got a kicker named Loop. I don't even know who that is. Come on now.
So I kind of realized it afterwards when I was thinking about some streaming defenses. Last year, Crazy Fish was a savant at the streaming defenses. He drafted Arizona Cardinals, who is like the number one streaming defense. He had his streaming defense planned during the draft. This is not a long-term play, but he's got him ready to go. So he's looking to make up some points on that defense, which he was so good at last year. Let's see if he can continue that trend.
Let's see.
All right, moving on to our next game, we have our champion from last year, Alex's They Took Our Jobs, up against returning member from a few years back, one of our new members for this year. I'll take the under 40. What do you have on this matchup between They Took Our Jobs and I'll take the under 40?
Well, welcome. I'll take the under 40. It's good to have you back. I've got Baker Mayfield, who is, in my opinion, an MVP candidate for the year, against Bo Nix, who is a superstar in the rise. Denver's offense is going to be stout this year. So right off the top of the board, I think that's an even matchup. I would lean towards Baker Mayfield because I would never go against Baker Mayfield. The rest of the team, though, he's got a rookie over there on, oh man, I'm gonna have to remember this name. Under 40. I'm just gonna say under 40. Under 40's got Genty as his starting running back, which I like, but I also like Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side, and I hopefully that Detroit offense does not lose a step. This is going to be a really close matchup. The only thing that I see that might be the difference maker here is the defense. We've got Houston defense going against Buffalo's defense. Under 40's Houston defense might be able to edge it out. And we'll see, because Buffalo's defense has got to go against Baltimore. And Baltimore, like I said earlier, is one of my Super Bowl predictors.
All right, our next matchup here is Reggie's Lionites, who usually starts off 0-5 or worse, up against Jimerson's Red Sox Nation, one of our hottest teams in the league over the last 5 years. Can Reggie's Lionites start the year 1-0 for the first time in 5 years?
I don't know. What is it with these Boston-based names? I know this guy doesn't even like Boston teams. Come on now. Yes, Red Sox Nation is going to win. I'm only saying that because I don't want to jinx Lionized. But with Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley as this top two going against Justin Fields and Chase Brown, based on name recognition alone, not even going to see who they're playing, I'm going to take Red Sox Nation here. But I'm not going to count out my buddy Lionized. He's got Butker as his kicker, and Butker might have a chip on his shoulder from the past couple seasons of, getting talked at. So let's go. Let's see what happens.
All right, and our last game on the docket is Bernie's Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
Up against Ken's, the Fantastics, and Ken's team has 3 guys going on Thursday night. How is this shaping up for this particular matchup?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So original projections was 98-102 Fantastics. New projections is 98-109. So he's just chipping away at this thing. Or I'm sorry, he's going way ahead, and I need to be chipping away at this come Sunday. As of now, Fantastics has got this win. He's already ahead of the game. Playing catch up here, but it's week 1. I haven't seen any of these players play. I don't have any questionable. I don't have anything going on here, but I do have Jared Goff in my starting lineup, and I might put Caleb Williams in. Jared Goff is playing against Green Bay, and Caleb Williams is playing against the Minnesota defense. So I don't know. I think I might want to take Caleb in this situation because I don't know what that Green Bay defense is going to look like. but I'm going to take Fantastics to take the win on this one.
So we'll get into your quarterback dilemma here as he's going to pop up later in this show. All right, now getting on to this week's power rankings.
By the power of Grayskull.
I'm living in it, no one man should have all that power.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, let's take a look at the power rankings. This is the first week of the season, so there's not too much data. We're going all from projections here. Starting off, let's see, why did that not load? Let's see. Oh, it's not loading. Outstanding. All right, everything's in as a projection mode here, so let's see what we got for our power rankings. I don't know if you can see that or not. I didn't send it to you. So our lowest rated team here, based on projected points going forward, is Lionized. The aforementioned Lionized here. Amazing Spidey's not too far behind in the 13th spot. Ben's Brilliant Team is in the 12th spot. Under 40 is at 11. Cubert's Rage is in the 10th spot in terms of power rankings. Bernie's Team B is in the 9th spot. King George is in the 8th spot, middle of the pack. Crazy Fish also in the middle at 7. Always Right is at 6. They Took Our Jobs, our returning champion, is starting off strong in terms of projections at 5. Let's see. Red Sox Nation is 4th in power rankings. Now our top 3. Waddle away. May Daddy Twos, and your opponent this week, the Fantastics, is the most powerful team in the Wingman Fantasy Football League to start out. What do you think about the rankings there? I have to say Fantastics has a squad to start with.
I wouldn't take anything away from that number 1 ranking there, based on what I've seen so far. I haven't seen much yet, but the rest of them, I'm not going to take any stock into this one. None whatsoever. Just Fantastics. He deserves the number 1 spot.
Do you happen to have? I can get it if you need be. Do you happen to have the preseason projections after our draft and what our records might be and stuff like that? Do you have that, able to pull that up?
I don't have that at my fingertips. Is it in the Yahoo? Does it have that listed somewhere in the
Yeah, hold
Wingman?
on 1 second. All right, now that the draft is done and the season is started here, the Yahoo likes to give us our projected records. It doesn't mean too much here. What are some notable record projections here between some of our players?
Notable would be exactly what we said as number 1. 14-0 is the projected record there, which is pretty outstanding for Fantastics. He had an A+ rating. 1,570 points. That's 22 points more than the next guy. But the top 3 are the same. Top 3 are Fantastics, Waddle Away, and May Daddy Twos. So
I think they have me at the bottom at like 2-12, which is a little disconcerting. But I think last year they had me at 3-11, and I finished 9-5, tied for the best record. So I'm not. There's always ways to overcome these initial projections here, but it's not. It doesn't make you feel good, at least.
Yeah, I would say so. In our power rankings, I think they're the top 3 are really close there, so nothing too far off. But again, I'm not outside of Fantastics. I'm not going to take anything too seriously as far as projections go. Now, I want to see the first week play out, and then I want to see something after that. So it should be good. Looking at the overall points, though, it's a pretty close race in the middle of this field here. Always right, never wrong, and They Took Our Jobs. They're fractionally different in their projected overall points. So hopefully, if this is right, hopefully this will be a really close season with some fractional point winning. And that would be probably because of the kicker. And I feel like you might get some dirty messages sent to you.
Okay. All right, guys, it is now time to get into this week's Starts of the Week, where we tell you who we think is some surprise players that you can get into your starting lineup to start your week 1. Let's get into this week's Starts of the Week. Bring it in. Take a knee. Who wants in?
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
All right, son, don't let me down. You're in.
Wingman Fantasy Football. Starts of the Week.
All right, our starts of the week. We're going to go through just the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver position here, as we don't really focus on tight ends in this particular league. Why don't you start us off with your quarterback start of the week?
All right. So week one, start of the week, quarterback position. That would be Kyler Murray going against the New Orleans Saints. That defense allowed 237 passing yards per game and 11 passing touchdown in its final 8 contests of 2024. So the Cardinals are expected to play with the lead against the projected worst team. And I just said we don't take any stock projections. They're the projected worst team of the New Orleans Saints, and Murray completes 72% of his passes when he's playing ahead. So the new offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, said that he's going to make an effort to get Murray running more this season. He only had, less than 2 designed runs for him last year. So we're going to see what happens here. So Kyler Murray, start of the week.
So I have him here projected at 18.7 points just for the range if we want him to get better than that. So that's a pretty high a bar to clear, but I think he can do it as well. All right, my quarterback start of the week. You were talking about whether you're going to play Caleb Williams or Jared Goff. I've got Caleb Williams as my quarterback start of the week. What is this? On Monday night, we're going with the second-year player for the Chicago Bears. This is kind of interesting here. The Minnesota Vikings were actually in the middle of the pack in terms of points allowed to the QBs, but they gave up the most points to the wide receiver position last year. I don't know how those things don't line up exactly here, but they do give up points in the passing game. And since Caleb Williams is not a running quarterback, those points to the receiver are going to go to Caleb Williams here. He's going to get multiple touchdowns and at least 250 yards. Caleb Williams is my dark horse, my streaming quarterback start of the week.
I want you to see it. I got my phone here. I am going to my settings. I'm going to my team. I am taking Goff out, and I am putting Caleb Williams in. Caleb Williams is now starting on my team here.
I would do it. I would go for it. All right. Moving along to our running back start of the week. Who do you got?
All right. For my running back, let's see. Who do we have here? Week one, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Cleveland Browns. He pretty much dominated from week 9 onward last season. I believe he might have finished as the RB6. He faces a Browns defense that allows 4.5 yards per carry in 2024. Joe Flacco, he had a 7% sack rate on dropbacks. So he's going to be the established 3-down workhorse for the Bengals that are going to be looking to control the clock because their defense really can't be on the field. So he's going to be a must start, especially given his draft position. So this one is kind of an obvious one, but this might go game to game because of how bad Cincinnati's defense is. Chase Brown might not get the workload that you might think he should get.
So I forgot to mention for Caleb Williams, he's projected at 17.2. I've got Chase Brown projected at 15.8. Another pretty high projection here for Chase Brown, but we think that he's going to surpass that. And I think Caleb Williams is going to have at least 24 points this week. All right, moving along to my running back start of the week. This one was part of our ambiguously ranked duo. I'm going with Tank Bigsby out of Jacksonville up against the Carolina Panthers, who gave up the most points to the running back position last year. Not only did they give up the most points, they gave up the most points in fantasy football history to the running back position. So even if they improve, they are still going to be towards the bottom and one of the better matchups. The only question here, is it going to be Tank Bigsby, Vashel Tutin, or Travis Etienne? I'm going with Tank Bigsby. I think they're going to play with the lead. I think he is the pounder at the end, maybe get some short yardage touchdowns. I'm going with Tank Bigsby as my start of the week at the running back, and he's projected for, that can't be right. He's not projected for 16 points, is he? Nope, I messed that up. That can't be right.
Give me a check of that.
Yeah, because that can't be right.
Okay. So the thing I have here, and I'm looking it up for you right now, with Tank Bigsby is, if that role is not solidified, he's going to take the goal line carries, to split this time with ETN. And if Tutin, makes any sort of appearance on the field, those touches just are going to go down and down and down. His projected points are only at 7.73 as of right now, though.
There we go.
So very doable with the 7.73 points, but risky in my opinion, because ETN is established and Tootin, they got him for a reason.
All right, moving along to our wide receiver starts of the week. Who do you have for your wide receiver start of the week?
My wide receiver start of the week for week 1. I'm going to somebody or going to a team that I have not talked highly of, but I think this guy might be due this game 1. Jerry Jeudy of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Cincinnati defense that is not rated very high. He's gonna thrive. He's gonna excel in Stefanski's heavily schemed passing game. Play action concepts. It's going to create great catch and run opportunities for him. He is big. He is fast. This might be the year that Jerry Jeudy breaks out and everybody goes, oh yeah, he is elite. He's just on the wrong team to be elite for. Paired with Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco isn't shy about cutting it loose. Low tier wide receiver 2 for week 1 just because of the team he's on, but he is going against Cincinnati. They are going to have to play catch up. So I expect a high volume contest in that passing game.
All right. Again, I made the mistake earlier, but I got Jerry Jeudy at a 12.7 point projection. Of course, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And when we come down to next week where we go over it, we'll definitely have those corrected if they are wrong. So Jerry Jeudy, that's an interesting pick. He was great last year with the likes of Jameis Williams, and Joe Flacco at this point of his career is similar. You're not sure if he's a volatile player, but he can get going, especially if he's not getting sacked. All right. My wide receiver start of the week is Mike Evans from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Bucks are playing against the Atlanta Falcons, who last year gave up the 3rd most points to the wide receiver position. And we mentioned it all off season with the injury to Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan. We do like the rookie Emeka Egbuka, but Mike Evans has the rapport before the rookie can take over here. And we're going to start hot and fast with Mike Evans being my wide receiver start of the week.
Yeah, this should be a classic NFC South shootout with the Falcons. They're lacking a complete defense. And you gave the names of the other receiver there. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But the Falcons tied for 5th most touchdowns allowed at slot receivers. So does that help Mike Evans? I don't know. But here's the wild card. Baker Mayfield. He's thrown 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans this game easily.
Wow. I also forgot to mention Cade Otton's a little banged up. He may or may not play, but that's just another receiver who's out, which I think makes Mike Evans going to be targeted quite a bit. I've got him projected here at 13.9. Of course, I'm not very confident in my numbers here right now anymore, but Mike Evans I got at 13.9. All right. We're moving along to my favorite Friday morning segment, and it should be yours. It is time for a 4th and long with Bernie. If I can get it loaded.
For it. This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is time for 4th and long
with Bernie.
All right, folks. Hi. Welcome. It's me, Bernie. It's 4th and long. You ready? We're going to have a season of fun this season. So settle in because we're going to dive into one of the oldest debates in football. And no, I'm not talking about whether the Matrix sequels were actually good. We're talking about something that's kept more general managers awake than their Red Bull addictions that they all have. So if you're a starting quarterback, what do you want more? Elite skill position players or an elite offensive line? Now, before you start tweeting at me that this is like asking whether you'd rather have Superman's powers or Batman's money, yes, obviously you want both. But in the salary cap era, you've got to make choices. It's like being at a buffet with only one plate. You can't have everything, no matter how much your heart wants it. So Let's get into this here. Let me paint you two very different pictures here. Scenario one, the glass cannon approach. You've got weapons that would make Tony Stark jealous. Think 2007 Patriots with Randy Moss, Wes Welker, and that offense that scored touchdowns like they were collecting Pokemon cards. Tom Brady had receivers running around like they were dodging bullets in the Matrix, just absolutely unstoppable. Randy Moss was literally video game cheat code activated, 23 touchdowns that season, stretching defenses thinner than the plot of a Michael Bay movie. Wes Welker was the slot machine that always paid out, 112 catches because apparently he thought footballs were magnetic. The Patriots offense scored 589 points. For context, that's more points than most people score in fantasy football all season. But here's the rub. Even with all those weapons, Brady still got sacked 21 times that year, and we all know how that season ended, 18-1, with the final one being bigger than the Death Star's exhaust port vulnerability. Okay? Scenario 2 here, the fortress strategy. Now flip the script. Picture yourself behind an offensive line so good it makes Fort Knox look like a screen door. You've got time in the pocket, like you're reading War and Peace in there. You're standing in the pocket like you're at a wine tasting. No rush, taking your sweet time, maybe checking your fantasy lineup between reads. Running lanes are so wide you could drive a truck through them, literally giving your running backs highways to the end zone. Pass protection so crisp, it makes Gordon Ramsay's cooking look sloppy. The poster child for this? You guessed it. Manning with those Colts lines, especially the 2009 unit that allowed only 13 sacks all season. Peyton got sacked a career low 10 times that year. 10. That's fewer times than most of us check our phones during commercial break. But here's where it gets spicy. Let me tell you about the cautionary tales. David Carr and the Houston horror story. Poor David Carr with those early 2000s Texans was like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, just getting mauled week after week. The dude got sacked 76 times his rookie year. 76. That's more than once per quarter of football he played. The Texans' offensive line was more porous than SpongeBob SquarePants. Defenders were coming through gaps like they were invited to the party. Carr had less protection than a tourist in Jurassic Park, constantly running for his life, developing happy feet faster than a kid on a hot sidewalk. By the end of his Houston career, he'd been sacked 249 times. That's basically getting hit by a freight train twice a week for 5 years. And here's the kicker. Carr actually had some decent weapons. Andre Johnson was starting to emerge as a legitimate number one receiver. But when you're constantly picking yourself up off the turf, it doesn't matter if you've got Jerry Rice in his prime running routes. Now we got the Manning paradox. Now, Peyton Manning is interesting because he proves both sides of the argument. In Indianapolis, those offensive lines were, let's call them creative engineering projects. Manning's Colts lines were often described as below average to poor by NFL scouts. We're talking about units that held together with duct tape and a prayer. Yet Manning consistently had some of the lowest sack totals in the league. The guy was getting rid of the ball faster than someone dropping a hot potato. How? Elite pre-snap reads and weapons who could get open quick. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and Dallas Clark were like GPS systems for footballs. But here's what's crazy. When Manning went to Denver, he had better protection and maintained his elite weapons, and boom, record-setting offense in 2013. It's like he went from playing chess to playing tic-tac-toe. The Tom Brady case study here. Brady's career is like the ultimate experiment in this debate. Early in his career with New England, solid but not spectacular offensive lines, good enough to get the job done, nothing fancy, weapons that came and went like seasons of a TV show. Some years he had Moss and Welker, other years he was throwing to guys it seemed like they were that he picked up at the Home Depot parking lot. But Brady's secret sauce was preparation and quick release. Dude was getting rid of the ball faster than someone running a bad Amazon purchase. The fascinating thing about Brady is he won Super Bowls with both approaches. Great weapons in 2007, though they couldn't close the deal, and they won with more modest talent, but with better protection later in his career. So, what's the verdict? If I'm an NFL quarterback and I absolutely have to choose, and we're talking Sophie's choice level difficult here, I'm going with elite offensive line. And here's why. Confidence is everything for a QB. If you're worried about getting hit, you're playing scared. And scared quarterbacks make bad decisions faster than people buying crypto in 2021. An elite line helps everyone. Your receivers get more time to get open. Your running game becomes viable. Even your defense gets more rest because you're sustaining drives. Elite weapons don't help if you can't stay upright. Having Calvin Johnson doesn't mean you're unconscious on the turf. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter if you're unconscious on the turf. But here's the real talk. The best quarterbacks make their offensive lines look better through quick decisions and hot routes. The truly great ones elevate the talent around them, whether that's turning a decent receiver into a Pro Bowler or making a mediocre lineman look competent through chemistry and communication. Look at Manning. His Colts center, Jeff Saturday, and the others have said playing with Peyton made them better players because of the preparation and communication. It's like having, the the most genius football player right behind you, telling you exactly what's going to happen at all times. So the bottom line here, give me the offensive line. I'd rather have 5 seconds to find my third option than 2 seconds to find Randy Moss running the perfect route. Because in the end, football is like life. Timing is everything. And you can't time anything properly when you're running for your life. So I leave you with that. Get in the comments. Let us know what you think. What would you rather have if you were the quarterback? Elite O-line or elite weapons? Mike, how about you? What do you think?
I like not getting dirty. I like getting protected. That's good.
Not getting hit that many times
yeah.
like Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr had a very short career. That's what I'm afraid of with Caleb Williams. I forgot to mention that if he's under 4 sacks this week, he'll be great. Anything over 4 sacks is going to give him a tough day. That's going to potentially stunt his growth. All right, guys, it is now time to get into the arcade room. Time to play the Wingman Jam. Before we pick our teams here, let me just let you in on the rules real quick. This is a game we're going to keep track of the high scores all week long, through the weeks, I mean. Here's the rules. You can only pick an NFL team, any players from those team, one time per season. You also cannot pick a team that's already been picked. So once Bernie and I make our picks here, you can pick anybody else in the league other than the 2 teams that we've selected. And we're not picking any games on Thursday night as we're getting this out to you on the early Friday morning. So any game between Friday and Monday, go ahead and pick those teams. The best way to do it is pick your team and players, put them in the comment for this particular video or any video. I'll find it. That way we have the timestamps. So if you see that a team has been picked, pick another team and you can save that team for next week. All right. With that being said, also scoring is a half-point PPR, 4-point per passing touchdown, and everything else is pretty standard along the way there. No negative points for quarterbacks and interceptions. With that being said, Bernie, it is now time for you and I to make our selections in this week's Wingman Jam.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. Arizona Cardinals, Cincinnati Bengals. I thought I saw a putty cat. I did. All right, we got the Birds going up against the Cats this time. Little Tweety Bird up against Sylvester. I've got James Conner and Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals up against Bernie, going with the number 1 pick overall right out of the gate here, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. What's your thoughts on this particular matchup here? You're going with the higher pedigree team, I think, but I like the matchup for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you guys got a great matchup over there. I'm not going to take anything away from that, but I got two things to say here: elite players versus weak defense. Um, Burrow has led the league in passing yards and touchdowns the last season, while Cleveland ranked 27th in points allowed, and Cincinnati's defense struggles. So the game script is just set up for these guys to just tear it up. Vegas expects a shootout. Bengals are a 5.5 point road favorite. The total set points is about 47.5, 48 points. So, you know, game script, elite players, weak defense. Vegas is expecting a shootout. What more can I say?
All right, guys. Don't forget, pick your teams and your stacks. Put them in the comments. And the way we're doing this is anytime you participate, you get a point. If you have the highest score of the week, you'll get 3 points. Second highest score of the week, you get 2 points. Third highest score, you get 1 point. After 3 weeks, the team with the most points will earn themselves the first seat in the Showcase Showdown. That'll take place in week 7. And the winner of the Showcase Showdown will earn themselves a prize. So get those participation points in, get those high ranking points in, and let's see where you finish after 3 weeks, and we will go from there. All right, guys, it is now time to get into this week's mailbag.
You've got mail. Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag! All right, taking a look at this week's mailbag. Starting off, we got a nice message here from Sports Break 149 in reaction to the last draft day special we had. It says, yo, homie had a bad team last year and then decided to double down and pick the same guys again. I'm not sure exactly who he was referring to, but my guess is he's referring to Cubert's Rage, who mentioned that he'd draft T. Higgins for the second straight year, Jaden Daniels for the second straight year, Jaden Waddle, and Kaimi Fairbairn. And guess what? I found the drop for the Fairbairn stare.
Care Bears, stare!
I will say this in defense of Cubert's Rage, if that is the team we are referring to. Last year, he was actually tied for the best record in the league. And if he didn't lose the last game of the regular season, he would have been the number 1 seed. He has a tendency to be the number 1 seed about 3 weeks ago and then kind of falter. But even these players, whether you think they're good or not, were good enough to get him tied for the best record last year. What do you have on? First of all, thanks, Sports Break. I appreciate the comment. I appreciate you watching all the way through that point. What do you have on people re-upping on some players, even though they might have some questionable projections?
I'm okay with that. I feel like most of our teams have a little bit of that sprinkled, some more sprinkled than others. It is what it is. We find things that we like and we kind of stick with it. Sometimes the draft just works out that way. Last year I drafted in the middle of the pack. This year I drafted in the middle of the pack, and I've got a couple of the same players. I'm not stressing it too much. And then it's a combination of having players from last year, having players from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The good players are the good players, man. If you're having, like you said, Cubert's Rage, man, high points. If he's got high points one year and he just couldn't get those wins, why not get the same guys and get the same high points?
All right, I don't disagree. All right, this next one comes in from Anonymous. It says, "Hey fellas, I was wondering how many fantasy football leagues are you guys playing in this year?" I'll start with you, Bernie. How many leagues are you in this year?
Oh my gosh, with the amount of prep I have to do, I'm in one. I'm barely in one.
So I too am in one. I like to focus in. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm not judging you, but like when you have so many teams and you're like, I need this guy to do good, but not this guy. And, you might beat yourself because one guy does good for you in League A, but that same guy you're playing against in League B. I kind of like to focus in what I need so I can be truly miserable all day long when my team fails instead of having, well, at least this one did better. So I stick with one team and put all my focus in the Wingman Fantasy Football League.
Yeah, I do an elimination pool though. I do that every year, so that helps with getting some of my NFL research into another thing as well. So, but you know what? Don't tell the commissioner. I've been kind of flirting with this other league because they allowed the tight end position, but don't tell the commissioner though. I haven't
enough.
committed anything. I haven't gone through with it, and I haven't said yes. But I'm just looking.
That's all right. It's all right. You can have a wandering eye here, but I will let you know if you join that other league, you are out. All right, guys. Hey, we're getting to the start of the season here, obviously, and I want to let you in on a web page that I've made up here, obviously, and I made it for me personally and what I like to look at on Sunday mornings, for example. And I pass this along to you. Just go ahead and go to our webpage at wingmanfantasyfootball.com. This is your portal to start off your fantasy football studying, I guess. I had a better word there that I lost. From here, you can get direct portals to many fantasy football leagues, including CBS, Yahoo, ESPN, Sleeper, Underdog, NFL.com. You go there, there's a link right there. It'll take you right to your page, and there is aggregated news on the left. On the right side of that page, there are Twitter feeds where you don't have to log in. No sponsored tweets, no ads, just the information you want from users like Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Pro Football Talk, and I forget the other one. There's another one on there as well. So you go there and get those Twitter feeds, get the aggregated news. Also on that page, right in the middle, is the inactive list. It comes out right when those inactive lists are posted. If you need to double check whether your guy's in or out, it is right there on the page. Like I said, I made this for me to have a one-stop shop to get my news, to get into my leagues, to make my player lineup decisions. So go ahead and do me the favor there. Go ahead and check out Wingman Fantasy Football.com. It also has on the bottom the weather reports for all NFL cities, so you can check on the weather, so you can see that. I don't, not going to hurt my feelings here. Do you use the wingmanfantasyfootball.com page to get yourself started on game days?
I do some research on Wingman Fantasy Football because it all is in one spot. But most of my research is probably done through the NFL the actual NFL site and their people.
Okay, fair enough. And like I said, you go to our site, and the NFL.com link is right there. So again, it gets you to it's a portal to your day. So feel free to check that out.
You know what? Hold on. I use it on Sunday morning. Before things get going, just to double check and finalize what my starting lineup is. I don't use it throughout the week.
Right. Yeah. I consider that my game day guide. So I use that for like that 10 o'clock to noon to make sure I get all the latest news and the inactives right when they come out.
Yep. It's excellent for that. Yes.
Perfect. All right, guys. I want to thank you all so very much for watching and or listening to another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on many, many podcast platforms. I'm not going to read them off anymore. We're on a bunch of them. I put a lot of time getting those out there for you guys. When you find our podcast, just search Wingman the League on those platforms, because there's a lot of podcasts with the word Wingman and a lot of podcasts with the words the league, but not together. Wingman the League will get you right to the top of your search. Please leave a 5-star rating and or a comment on any of those platforms. And if you want to see our graphics, our beautiful faces, and all of our mistakes, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you get over there, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. We will respond, and we'll get you into our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty,
and make sure that your starting lineup is set. There's a Friday game.
Good advice. All right, guys, we will see you next time.